Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to Inner Guide Q&A program, where we find the answers for our life's problems through the great teachings of our great teacher, Supreme Buddha. So one of our viewers have asked a question from us that how to stop the bad habits. How to stop the bad habits. So today from this Inner Guide program, we are going to learn and find how to stop a bad habit in our life. Before learning how to stop a bad habit, first of all, we have to learn and find what is a habit and how a habit is formed in our life. Normally, habit is something that we do again and again throughout a long time, and after doing it through a long time, it will become automatic, right? After it becomes automatic, it does not require any effort to do, right? There are so many habits in our life, either good or bad. There are so many habits, right? So for an example, let's take early in the morning, you all get up and you go to your washroom and you take your toothbrush and put some toothpaste on it and you brush your teeth. Now, brushing your teeth is a habit. No one gets up in the morning and think, oh, I should brush my teeth today also. No one become sad or depressed of brushing teeth, right? Why is that? Because it has become a habit. Because from the little age, from the age that we were as babies, right, we brushed our teeth daily. And with the time, it became a habit. It became something that happens automatically. Normally, we get up early in the morning and we just go to the washroom and we brush our teeth. It does not require any effort, right? So, that is how a habit is formed. We do it for a long time and it becomes something that is very easy and well known, and it does not require any effort. So, there are good habits in our life as well as the evil habits. Now, our focus and our main target should be to reduce these evil habits. So, what are the evil habits that we have? Normally, the main evil habit that we have is we become angry with people all the time, don't we? We become angry. We get angry with people who are in our families, who are in our workplace, right? Why that happened? Did you think why is that happening? Because we have practiced this anger for a long time and it has become a habit. Now, do you need any effort to be angry with anyone? Do you want to take any effort to be angry with any person? No, you don't. Why? It has become a habit, right? And there is another bad habit. It is the feeling jealousy of others. It does not require any energy. You don't want to think about it. It comes to your mind automatically. And the craving and the lust. When we talk about that, normally we have the habit of craving the things. And the lust has become a habit to our life. So, that means we have practiced these evil thoughts throughout a long time and it has become a habit. And that is how the evil habits are formed in our life. So how to break these habits? Well, there is only one way to do that. And that one way is to replace that evil habit from a good habit. Okay? That is the only way you can do that. Stop a bad habit. Instead of practicing that evil habit, in that time, you can practice another good habit. Suppose you get angry with a person, right? You are a person who gets angry all the time. You are a person who loses your temper all the time. So what you have to do, you have to understand about your habit. You have to understand about your situation, right? Now you have to think, I get angry all the time, right? The first step is to understand about your situation. Number 2, you have to think that this evil habit, this bad habit is not good for my life. It will never make any good for my peacefulness or my spirituality. The more you think about that, right, the more you think about the disadvantages of your evil habit, your mind always try to reject those thoughts. Because you are thinking about the disadvantages of those evil thoughts, right? Normally when we see some disadvantages of a special thing or a person or whatever it is, normally we don't like to be with that, right? If you are going to the supermarket and when you are going to buy something, if you come across and if you see some disadvantages of buying that special thing, do you buy that? No, you don't. Right? Same as that, you have to think about the disadvantages of your evil habits. That is the second step. And then as the third step, you can bring out a good habit to practice instead of that evil habit. Suppose you get angry with people all the time. Okay? So what you have to do, instead of blaming others, right? Instead of blaming for the little mistakes of others, what you have to do, you have to practice to be silent, and you have to practice to spread love and kindness to them. And also you have to train your mind to forgive them, right? Sometimes we may get angry for little things, right? The fights and the troubles that they are going on in the family life or in the workplaces are for very little things we are fighting. Remember, if we cannot forgive the people around us, we will never live peacefully, right? If you don't have the habit of forgiving, you cannot live peacefully, because we cannot expect the people around us to always to do good things and the things that we like, right? They may do weird things, but if we cannot forgive and forget, right, you will always see the mistakes and the wrong things and the troubles that has done by the people around you. The more you see it, the more you will become distracted in your mind. So instead of developing that evil thought, you can develop a wholesome thought. It's like this. Now, there are two sides of our mind. There is the evil side and the wholesome side. Okay? Think these two sides as two animals. Okay? So one animal is very dangerous, right? And the other animal is very calm and quiet and serene. And it is very useful. So if you keep on feeding one animal, suppose you fed the dangerous animal, the more you feed that animal, the more that animal will be strong. And that animal, with the time, that animal will control the wholesome animal. Right? The problem with us is we are feeding this dangerous animal. Right? Instead of feeding the dangerous or evil side of our mind, what you have to do is just feed the wholesome animal. Right? If you feed the wholesome side of your mind, what will happen? It will start to develop. Right? When it starts to develop, it can overcome, it can control the dangerous or evil thoughts of your mind without letting that evil thoughts to appear inside your mind. So what you have to do, just feed, always do and say the things and think the thoughts that feeds the wholesome side of your mind. Then with the time, that habit, that evil habit will be broken, and you will find that you always have a good habit instead of evil thoughts and evil habits. And that is how you break the evil habits in your life. So stop feeding the evil thoughts in your mind. Instead, feed the wholesome thoughts and make your life a peaceful one. Namo Buddhaya, Theruvan Saranai. Namo Buddhaya. So many people in this society may think that in order to live a happy life, always we should gather the things to ourselves. We should surround ourselves with comfortable things. And they may think that we should not give anything to anyone. Giving is a waste. That is how people think. And also people ask why we should give the things to others. Because others can also earn what they want. So why we should give? Well, today from this Inner Guide Q&A program, we are going to find why we should give and also what are the benefits of giving. Let's talk about why we should give. Right? So giving is an act of kindness. Right? Being generous is an act of kindness. Right? If you have a kind heart, if you have a compassionate heart, you will tend to give more to people. Right? Do you know the meaning of the compassion? Compassion means the feeling of sympathy or feeling of sad when someone is going through a hardship. Right? If you have that compassionate heart, you will try to give more to this world. Because world needs the humans' help. Humans need humans' help. So that is why Supreme Buddha taught us that you should give. Because if you give, when you are giving something to someone, now suppose you are giving food to a person who is very hungry, suffering with hunger, right? If you give that food to that person, he will feel comfortable, right? He will overcome his hunger and he will be happy maybe for one day. But when you give that food to that person, you will feel happy, right? You will feel a mental happiness within yourself. That happiness will last long until the end of your life. Whenever you remember that act of kindness that has done by yourself, you will feel very happy about yourself. You can be proud about yourself. That happiness cannot be bought for money. Remember. And also, giving is an act that the people with stronger mindsets, stronger personalities always do. The people who are with low qualities, bad qualities will not give, right? They are not generous. They are a bit stingy in their life, right? They always think, if I need to be happy, I need to gather the things. I need to surround myself with pleasurable things. I should not give. Giving is a waste. That is how they think. That is why we need to practice the generosity. If you need a happiness that lasts long forever, start giving. See the joy of giving. It is very joyful and it is very enjoyable. So it is how amazing that when you see a person who is overcoming his hunger, having the food that is given by you, and when he is smiling, you feel that mental happiness, right? That is one of the greatest happy moments that we'll have in your life. So that is why you need to give always. Be a generous person. Okay, then let's talk about that what are the benefits of giving. Supreme Buddha taught us there are 5 benefits of a generous person. There are 5 benefits that can be found to a generous person. Number 1, Supreme Buddha said, he will be agreeable and he will be a nice and pleasurable person to many people. Right? When you give something to someone, they will be happy. Right? If you are a donor, if you are a generous person, always when people see yourself, they become happy. They may think, oh, this person is very generous, he's a nice person, he's a kind person. So he will be agreeable to many people. That is the first benefit. Number 2, Supreme Buddha said, good people will surround him. He will get into the association of good people. Now, if you have that quality, the generosity within you, it is the nature of this world that same things, the people will with same qualities get together. Right? If you have the generosity, the people who are with the same mindset will surround you. It goes with another way. If you have the stinginess or if you have the evil thoughts within you, the people who are with evil thoughts will surround you. Evil friends will surround you. So if you are generous, always, noble people, good people, the people with good generosity will surround you. You will get into association with good people. That is the second benefit. Third one, Supreme Buddha said, he will acquire a good reputation in this world. Remember, people are not talking about your wealth. People doesn't talk about your wealth. Only people talk about how generous you were, how kind you are. That is what they talk about. So what you have to do, you need to give. You need to be generous. If you are being generous, you will acquire a good reputation in your life. The fourth benefit is, Supreme Buddha said, his life will be virtuous. You will acquire a good personality which is fault-free and which is free from the defilements, which is free from the evil things in your life. Because you are generating more compassionate thoughts towards others. You are generating more generous thoughts to others. So the more you generate these wholesome thoughts, the more you will have a good personality within you. So if you need to become a good person, if you need to become a virtuous person, if you need to have a confident personality, what you have to do? Be generous. Number 5, the final quality. Supreme Buddha said, by being generous, one acquires lots of merits. And as the result of those merits, Supreme Buddha said, he will have a good rebirth. Most of the people are not having a good rebirth in this world. So if you need to have a good rebirth, what you have to do is be generous. Give to others. Giving is something that gives you the happiness. Gathering and holding on to the pleasurable things is something that makes you suffer. So start giving and see the joy of the giving and find the ultimate happiness in your life. Namo Buddhaya, Theruvan Saranai. Namo Buddhaya. One of you have asked from us, how can we kill the laziness? How can we do the things without laziness? Okay, today from this Inner Guide Q&A program, we are going to discuss that how can we do the things without the laziness and how can we kill the laziness. To kill the laziness and to do the things without laziness, to stop being lazy in our works, our great teacher Supreme Buddha taught us that you should have 4 great qualities. If you have these 4 great qualities within you, you will never feel lazy in your works. You will never feel lazy when you are doing meditations. You will never feel lazy when you are doing studies. To accomplish anything, any special goal in your life, you need to have these 4 great qualities. So what are those great qualities? These are known as 4 Iddhipadas. The first great quality, the first Iddhipada that you need to have to accomplish anything in your life and to do the things without laziness is called Chanda. What do you mean by chanda? Chanda means the desire. If you have the desire for doing something, in one way or another, you are going to do that because you like it, you love it. If you love what you do, or if you do what you love, you will never feel lazy. Now, suppose that you are going a trip or a picnic tomorrow. So tonight, when you are going to bed, you never feel sleepy, you never feel lazy because your mind is excited and you love that day, that coming tomorrow. So you are going to be happy in that day. So if you are doing something that is you like, that you are passionate about, you will never feel lazy. So what you have to do? To kill the laziness, to do the things without the laziness, you need to generate the desire for doing that. If you are doing meditations, you need to have a desire for doing that. Without the desire, if you do the meditations and do the spiritual practices without the desire, you will feel lazy. That is the first great quality, chanda. Here comes the second one. It's called the chitta. Chitta means the mindset. You need to have the determination and you should have the correct mindset to do the thing that you want. You need to have a great determination that I will do this thing today. Right? You need to have that mindset of not giving up. If you have the correct mindset to do something, you will never feel lazy. Because you are well focused to that. Your mind is focused to what you are doing. When your mind is focused to something, you don't feel lazy anymore. You don't feel giving up anymore. You don't feel bored anymore. So what you have to do? You need to have a correct mindset to do that work. Then you will never feel lazy. That is the second step. Third step, and the third great quality, that's called the virya. Virya means effort. To do something, to achieve any good goal in your life, you need to give some effort to that. You need to dedicate yourself. You need to sacrifice your time, your life, your blood and sweat to do that. Then only you can achieve that. When you are dedicated for something, when your mind is dedicated for something, you will never feel lazy. So what you have to do? You need to dedicate yourself and you need to try hard in your works. Try hard in your studies. You should never give up in your meditations. Then you will never feel lazy. Because you are committed to that. You are dedicated to your work. That is the third step. That is the third great quality. Here comes the fourth great quality. That is the final one. It's called the vimamsa. Vimamsa means investigation. You need to investigate what are the ways that I can do my work easily. What are the ways that I can be more productive in my work? If you investigate yourself in your work, then you can kill the laziness. Because sometimes we do the things that we don't love and that we don't like. If you have the power of investigation, that what are the things that I like to do? What are the things that my heart feels free to do? If you do those things, you will never feel lazy. So what you have to do? You need to have these four great qualities. First one is called chanda, the desire. Second one, chitta, the mindset. Third one, virya, the effort. And the final one, vimamsa, the investigation. So if you have these four great qualities, you can do the things without the laziness and you can kill the laziness in your life. So practice these qualities and escape from the laziness and be happy in your life. Namo Buddhaya. We all seek happiness in this world. If I ask from you, would you like to be happy in your life? What will be your answer? You will say, of course, I want to be happy in my life. I want this peaceful state. I need to be in that. That is your answer. That is the answer of all living beings. Buddha says that all living beings likes to be happy and they seek the happiness. If you really think about our life, we are in a never-ending journey of pursuing happiness. Let me tell that again. We are in a never-ending journey of pursuing happiness. That means we are pursuing happiness, we are chasing and we are seeking for happiness, but yet we have not found it. So, what is the reason for this not finding happiness? Why we don't find happiness in our life? We are seeking it, we are finding for it, but we don't find it. What is the reason? Well, the Buddha teaches us that we are finding or we are seeking this happiness from a source that the happiness does not exist. Because we are seeking happiness from external world. We are seeking happiness from these materialistic things. Well, when you seek happiness from materialistic things or external world, you get pleasure, but that is not happiness. Pleasure is something temporary and it gives you this instant gratification. But in happiness, the happiness is long-lasting and it gives you this happiness or the contentment about yourself. So that is why Buddha teaches us that you're finding the happiness from a source where the happiness does not exist. So the more you find it, the more you become frustrated. So, will we ever be able to find happiness in our life? The Buddha answers this question. He says, yes, you can find happiness in your life. How to do that? If you look closely to the first and the second verses of Dhammapada, Buddha says, if one with an impure mind speaks or acts, the suffering will follow him like a cart wheel following the ox. If with an impure mind one speaks or acts, the suffering will follow him. And in the next verse, Buddha says, if with a pure mind one speaks or acts, the happiness will follow him like a shadow following a man. So that means the happiness and the sadness entirely depends on the purity and the impurity of our mind. When our mind is pure, we can find the happiness. So, how can we find or how can we gain this purity in our mind in order to find the happiness? Well, Buddha teaches us there are a lot of things that you can do to make your mind pure. So today, I'm going to share with you a few things that can give you the happiness in your life, that you can find the happiness in your life. First thing, accepting the reality of life will give you the happiness. You know, life is full of ups and downs. Sometimes you have good days, sometimes we have bad days, sometimes we have beautiful memories, sometimes we also have miserable memories. So life is not something that is going equally every day. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. When you realize this reality, you can face these situations successfully. Right? It is not always this bad experience makes us frustrated. It is our reaction towards this bad experience makes us frustrated. Whenever you get a bad experience or a bad day or a bad situation, tough situation, difficult situation, you have two choices. Either you can focus on the pain and feel miserable about that situation, or you can focus on the lesson that bad situation teaches us and learn from it and start growing your life. So, if you accept the reality of life, it is not temporary. Sometimes the people around us are not in our control. We cannot control their reactions. We cannot control their opinions. So when you realize these situations, you can face those situations successfully. That is one thing, accepting reality of the life. Number 2, Buddha said, be generous. Practicing generosity is a major practice in Buddhism. Well, in Buddhism, the generosity is known as dana. In dana, Buddha says that you have to give without any expectations. We have to give and we have to dedicate towards others without expecting anything in return. That is one thing that we have to practice. Most of the time, we like to hold on to things or gather the things towards us. That is what people think. When you gather more, when you collect more things, you will get rich and you will gain happiness. But that does not give you the happiness. It will give you the pleasure, but it is temporary. So what we have to do, Buddha says, be generous, give, help others, dedicate a part of your life on behalf of others. When you do that, when you become more generous, let's say like this, you gave some foods to a poor person, let's say like that. When you see that person is having those foods and overcoming his hunger and making his life much better, you can be happy by seeing that. When you become happy like that, you feel happy about yourself. Right? Nothing can give you that happiness. Like by eating a good food, by dressing a nice dress, you cannot gain that happiness. You don't feel happy about yourself. Right? Let's say after hundred of years later, maybe 10 decades later, when you think about that incident, I gave this food to this poor person. When you remind that, you feel happy. Even then you feel happy. That means happiness is long-lasting. So Buddha says, be generous, help people, do something nice every day for a person. That is one thing we can do. And number 3, forgiving. Forgiving is one of the most important things that we can do to create happiness in our life. We have to forgive ourselves. Also, we have to forgive others too. Because forgiving, when you forgive, it doesn't mean that you are saying okay to others' mistakes. It's okay. No, you're not saying like that. When you forgive, you make your heart free. So when you forgive, it's not for that person, it is for you. And also we have to forgive for ourselves. There are so many mistakes that we all have done in the past. If you hold on to past, and if you make this present moment miserable, that will not give you the happiness. So what do we have to do? Whatever the bad thing that we have done in the past, we have to have this ability to forgive ourselves and start all over again. We all have that ability, right? We all have that privilege to start our life again and make it a better one. Okay? So no one is perfect in this world. We all have done mistakes. One thing that we have to do is to forgive and start doing good things. So these are 5 things that we can do to create happiness in our life. And also, there is one happiness that is called the ultimate happiness in this world that the Buddha teaches us. That is called Nibbana. or nirvana. That is the enlightenment. When you realize about the reality of this life, and when you remove this desire or the craving that arises within your mind, then Buddha says that is the ultimate happiness. Simply, the Nibbana means ragakkayo, dosakkayo, mohakkayo, Nibbana. That means removing of the desire, anger, and the delusion of the mind is called the enlightenment. So that is the highest level of happiness that we all can reach. So when you practice these practices, right, when you engage yourself in wholesome state, that will create you the happiness in the life. So practice these things and make your life a happier one. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to another video. Today, I'm going to answer a question from the comment section. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I came across this comment asking, how can we make correct decisions in our life? How can we make correct choices in our life? Well, to learn about this, let's take a look at a sutta from the Buddha's teachings. Okay? There's a sutta named Ambalattika Rahulovada Sutta. In that sutta, Buddha advises monk Rahula. Buddha asks from monk Rahula, Rahula, what do you think about this? What is the purpose of the mirror? Then monk Rahula says, the purpose of the mirror is to check our reflection, sir. Then the Buddha says, same like that, whenever you are going to do anything from your body, from your mind, from your words, you have to do it after repeatedly checking on it. Okay? You have to be mindful and you have to think about it, you have to check it, and then after that you have to do it. Then in that sutta, Buddha further explains how to repeatedly check our actions. Buddha says, whenever you are going to do anything from your body, let's say you are going to do something from your body, okay? Then you have to think like this. Buddha says, is this deed that I'm going to do now hurts myself? Is it going to hurt myself? Or is it going to hurt others, other people around me? And the Buddha says, you have to think that is it going to hurt both of us, for me and for the others? Okay? And then the Buddha says that you have to think that is it a skillful thing, or a good thing, or a wholesome thing, or an unwholesome thing? Does it give happiness to my life? Does it bring happiness and mental serenity and calmness to my life? Then the Buddha says that if you find that action that you're going to do is unskillful and it hurts for yourself and to the others, and it is unskillful and it brings suffering to your life, then you should, by all means, you should not do it. Okay? So that is a bad choice. That means that you are going to make a bad choice. Okay? Then the Buddha says, if you find the action that you're going to perform in your life, okay? If you're going to perform an action which is good, which brings the happiness to your life, which makes the happiness and which benefits for you and for the others and both of you, if it is skillful, then by all means you have to do it. Now what does Buddha means in this advice? Buddha says, that means you have to, before you are going to do anything from your body, from your mind, from your words, you have to be mindful. You have to think, what am I going to do now? Right? Is it good or bad? Is it wholesome or unwholesome? You have to think about the consequences of your choices. If you are aware of the consequences of your choices, then you will make good choices. Okay? Most of the time, the reason why we are making bad decisions and bad choices is we are not aware of the consequences of that action. And we are not mindful about what we are doing now. So, in your life, before taking any decision, just pause, take a rest, and pause and think, hey, what I'm going to do now, is it beneficial for myself? And is it beneficial for others? Okay? And does it hurt myself? Does it hurt others? Okay? When you think about that, you can make correct decisions. Okay? And you have to be brave enough to choose the harder path, difficult path, because making correct decisions and doing good things is not an easy task. It is always difficult. Although it is difficult, if you practice it, if you constantly do it, no matter what happens, you can bring the happiness to your life. So the best thing to do to make correct decision is to pause first, okay, and think about it, repeatedly check on it, and be mindful and consider whether it is going to be beneficial for my life or to the others, and then make correct decisions. That is how we make good choices and correct decisions in our life. So that is what I have to share in this video. So I wish you all, may all of you be happy and safe forever. Namo Buddhaya. Buddhism is considered as the religion of meditation. But if you ask your Buddhist friend, do you meditate? They'll probably say, no, not that much. I don't meditate that much. So the real question is, do all Buddhists meditate? And should you meditate to become a Buddhist? Well, the first thing that we need to understand is that the word Buddhist means for someone who follows the Buddha's path, right? So to truly become a Buddhist, you need to follow the Buddha's advice and you need to follow the Buddha's path. At least you must try to do that, right? And just because you are born to a Buddhist family doesn't mean that you truly become a Buddhist, okay? So then you may ask, should you meditate to become a Buddhist? Well, it depends on what you mean by meditation. If you portray the meditation as sitting in a quiet place, cross-legged, eyes closed, and concentrating, then it is not the only meditation. Meditation can be practiced while sitting down, while lying down, while walking, and while standing. So these all four postures we can practice the meditation. And also, you don't always need to close your eyes to meditate, okay? So to become a Buddhist, not only meditation that we must practice, there are a lot of things that we need to include to our life. So according to the Buddha's advice, there are three main practices that we practice in Buddhism. If someone is practicing these three practices, then we can call him a Buddhist, right? So what are these three practices? The first practice is called Sila. Sila can be translated into English as virtues, right? So as Buddhists, we follow 5 virtues. Every Buddhist has to follow 5 virtues. So what are these 5 virtues? First one is abstaining from killing beings. Second one is abstaining from stealing. Third virtue is abstaining from sexual misconduct. Fourth one is abstaining from telling lies. And the fifth one is abstaining from taking intoxicants. So these are the 5 virtues that we follow. So this is the cornerstone, and this is the first step of Buddhist path, Buddhist practice. That is to be virtuous. So now you can understand, before meditating, you also need to be virtuous. Now, why we need to practice these virtues? A monk asked from the Buddha, what is the purpose of being virtuous? Or what is the purpose of practicing these virtues? Then the Buddha says, why you need to practice virtues is to stay away from regrets in your life. Okay? If you take a closer look at these 5 virtues, by doing the opposite of these 5 virtues, that means killing animals, stealing, doing sexual misconduct, and telling lies, and taking intoxicants, these actions can lead to regret in life, right? One's regret. And the Buddha showed that regret is one of the biggest obstacles for someone's peace in life. If your heart is complaining about the actions and the things that you did in the past and the things that you are doing right now, if your heart is regretting about it and complaining about it, that is a bigger obstacle to find peace in one's life. So to stay away from that regret and that disturbance to your mind, to your peace, the Buddha says, be virtuous. Live a virtuous life that your heart doesn't complain you about your actions, right? Be disciplined. In a simpler way, to be self-disciplined is to practice the virtues. And then the second practice is called samadhi. Samadhi can be translated into English as tranquility. And now this includes this meditational practice, right? But also it doesn't only mean that it is only meditation. There are so many other things that we practice to tranquilize our mind. One part of it is meditation, right? You have to sit down, go to a quiet place, close your eyes and contemplate and try to focus your mind, and then little by little your mind will become tranquilized and calm and peaceful. And also by practicing the mindfulness, we can tranquilize our mind. And by doing good things like good karma, helping people, right? We can practice this tranquility of our mind. And also, the sila that we mentioned earlier will help you to achieve a tranquilized mind. So the Buddha says you must practice virtues, you must practice sila in a way that it helps the tranquility of your mind, right? That is the sole purpose of practicing the sila. And then the tranquility. Now this includes the meditational practice. And then there is the third practice that we do. This is called prajna. Prajna can be translated into English as wisdom, right? So the Buddha showed us that how to achieve wisdom in life. And what Buddha meant by wisdom is ability to understand the true nature of life, the true impermanent nature of one's life, right? To do that, you need one part of it, you need the meditation, and also one part of that, you need the wise reflection. The Buddha says how to achieve the wisdom. First, you must listen to the Buddha's advice and listen to the Dhamma, the Buddha's teachings well, right? You need to listen to it, and also you need to wisely reflect on it, right? Through wise considering and through wise reasoning, you must achieve this wisdom, right? So these are the three practices that we do to practice Buddhism, right? Every Buddhist must practice this, right? So the first part is, in a summary, the first part is you have to be virtuous, and also then you have to practice these meditational practices, and also you have to develop wisdom. So the sole purpose of those two practices, sila and samadhi, is to help developing the wisdom in life. So these are the three practices that we do to become Buddhist. And those who practice these three practices, they don't need to name themselves as Buddhists. They all are Buddhists, okay? They all are Buddha's followers, okay? So I hope you got some idea about this matter today. So, wish to see you from another video. Take care. Namo Buddhaya.